this. All right. Hello, everyone. I know it's late today, but I'm finally getting around to doing the video. It has been a challenging day, and I've got some exciting stuff. It's different from what I was going to train on, but I think this will actually be helpful because this is based on what I actually went through today. So, as we go through this weight loss journey, we are going to encounter situations and challenges, and things are not going to go so well. And it'll seem like everything is against you. And this was my day today. So, it started with even waking up during the middle of the night, was feeling upset and frustrated, so I did some journaling that helped and everything. And then when I woke up, got up, I had coffee, was doing well, went to go log into my system, and I couldn't access certain things, tried to deal with IT to get things set up, and then there were frustrations and I couldn't access my account, and it also meant that I was going to have to do 10 other things in order to do the one thing that should have just taken me 30 minutes to do. And I found my emotions, my frustration level was elevated. I was trying to use my usual tools to try and get myself back on track. And I was really, really struggling with that today. I tried journaling, and, ladies, I'm sure you'll understand when I say, sometimes when we get angry, when we get frustrated, the feelings start coming up and we end up crying, and it's not because we're sad, we're really mad. And I had all of these feelings come up of I just really wanted to trash something, and if there was a rage room close by where I could just trash a bunch of stuff, I would have gone and done that. So recognizing the emotions that were coming up for me was one of the key things. Hey, Kendrick. Nice to see you. So the emotions come up, and when you don't have that tool of food that you use to squish those emotions down, you have to start learning how to deal with these emotions in different ways. So one of the ways that I implemented was I went through and I thought, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. I tried meditation. I just was too agitated. I couldn't settle myself down. So I'm like, okay, I need to burn some of this excess energy. I can't really focus on work. I can't get into my system. I can't do a couple of things. And I was really all of these emotions were bubbling to the top, and all I wanted to do was just dive into some snacks, but I had just eaten my breakfast, so I didn't need any snacks. So I'm like, okay, let's do some physical activity. So I tried to tie this in, not just doing exercise, but also trying to do something productive. So this is where mundane routine activities. So I'm like, okay, you know what? One of the things that's been irritating me is there's a lot of cat hair around. I need to vacuum. I've been meaning to do it. I didn't do it. So pulled out the vacuum, started vacuuming, got everything all taken care of. So that helped reduce some of the emotions a little bit, to the point where I felt a little bit better because I was at least being productive. I was getting something that was irritating me, and I took back that control by actually, taking something that was smaller that was irritating me and actually crossing that off of my to-do list kind of thing. So, that being said, I was like, this still isn't working. I'm like, okay. So I tried having a healthier food option. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have an apple and see if that helps. And I had a tea and I had water, and I did all of these things, and I found I was still frustrated. So I did some laundry. So I did some more of those extra activities, and those things helped, but I was still struggling. So I used all of the tools, and sometimes what ends up happening is you have to get to a point, and this isn't the adult that's in control. It's like you have this inner child, your child side of you that is basically throwing a temper tantrum, and you're just like, as the adult, you're like trying to reason and rationalize, and it's just not happening today, right? So for me, what I had to do was like, okay, we're going to give a concession here, and you can have whatever it is that you want. However, just like in negotiations, it's like, okay, if I'm going to give you this, something that you really, really want, then what is it that has to counteract that, right? So it's no different than if you're negotiating price in mergers and acquisition. It's like, okay, I can't give you that full amount, but I can give you this, but I'm going to need this instead. So I can give you that price, but we have to spread that out over a longer payment term, or we have to defer the down payment or something like that. So this is what I did with myself today. Is like, okay, you can have whatever it is that you want, but make sure it's something that you really, really, really want. So I have my list of my comfort foods. There are certain things where it's like, okay, I'm reaching out to those things. I'm doing it deliberately. I'm not just mindlessly eating. So this is a deliberate choice. It's a negotiation with myself. And I'm like, okay, so it's like I'm asking my inner child, what is it that you really want? And I'm like, okay, well, one of my comfort foods is like peanut butter, right? So I had a cinnamon raisin bagel, butter and peanut butter, and I just really thoroughly savored it and enjoyed it when I did have it. So in part of my program, there are no off-limit foods. You are allowed to have everything that you want. And I do this so that I don't put myself in a scarcity mindset. I can have whatever I want. However, there are consequences for what it is that I want. And I have to make sure that I'm balancing that out correctly. So because what ends up happening for myself is if I get myself into that, I can only eat these foods at this time in this order, and I have to do all of these things this certain way and follow this certain path and program. It's too easy for me to trigger that need for perfectionism, and I'll make one mistake and then it ends up snowballing, and then I let myself off the hook. So this way, instead of beating myself up for not following a program perfectly, I allow myself that wiggle room, I negotiate, and I use these tools and strategies. When those things don't work, then I'm like, okay, this isn't working, so what is it that you're allowed to do? So I gave myself that bagel, that peanut butter, and I enjoyed it so much. It just calmed down that inner child. She was happy, I was happy, we're grooving. And now the negotiation, the trade-off was, okay, I'm going to fast for 12 hours after I have this. In fact, it'll probably be 18 hours by the time I wake up and everything, but that's okay. So I had that bagel with peanut butter. I enjoyed it. I savored it. I really allowed that inner child in me to be okay with that and comforted. And everything turned around from there, right? I wasn't fighting with myself. I'm not arguing. She was happy. I was happy. It was great. I went out and I, visited with a friend. We were out at Tim Hortons, and it's really cool because I allowed myself that cheat, or it's not even a cheat. It's like I allowed myself what I really wanted. And because I got what I really wanted, and especially since the whole thing was I was frustrated today because some of the things that I really, really, really friggin' wanted, I'm not able to have, or at least not right now. And there's delays, and I'm frustrated and angry. So giving myself that one thing that I was allowed to have, that I could just have something that I really wanted at that moment, turned things around completely. I could be at Tim Hortons and it's like they really brought out a bunch of fresh batch of donuts and everything, and I was not tempted. I was not craving it. I didn't want any extra food. Why? Because I'm holding true to the boundary that I set for myself to say, hey, if you get this, then what is the trade-off? And the negotiation was, then I have to fast for 12 hours. I'm like, okay, cool, I can do that. You can do anything for 24 hours that if you knew you had to keep that up for a lifetime, that it would be too difficult, too challenging. So part of the strategies that I use is there's a bunch of different tools, and there's right times and wrong times to be able to use those, and it's about using the tool that's working for you in that moment. So because I did that, I ended up turning around. My emotions have calmed down. I've been able to stay on track. I got some things taken off my list of things that were annoying me housework wise. It added physical activity, and yeah, so those are some strategies that I use that have helped me lose almost 100 pounds. I'm 99, working on it, but I'm not focused on the numbers so much as the process of how am I dealing with this? How is my relationship with food? How is the relationship with myself? And as I pay off this emotional debt and I learn to deal with my emotions, it becomes a sustainable approach for me that works long term, because as I take this weight off, it's never ever coming back on again. So I hope this training was helpful for you guys, and that you got some good tips. I forgot to mention earlier, if you were watching live, type in #live. If you're watching the replay, type in #replay. If you found this training helpful, type in more, just so that the algorithms will share this with more people and that they can see it, and hopefully they can use these tips with whatever program that they're using to be able to help lose weight and get that off forever. So with that, guys, I hope you have an amazing evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow.